Hi, welcome back to another episode of Look Ma No Hands. My name is Linda. This is season 2, episode 7. I'm really happy to be here. 7 weeks. So yeah, if you are back again, thanks for coming back. To my returning viewers, and if this is your first time here, welcome. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm really trying to grow my channel. Hoping to reach more people, widen the audience a little bit. So yeah, I love, all the comments you guys have been leaving. I definitely, do my best to respond to everyone, whether it be by just leaving a heart for the comment, or if I can think of something witty and clever to say, I will comment back. But let's definitely keep the conversations flowing, and yeah, I'd love to hear from you. So this week, what am I wearing? I am wearing a virus poncho. I don't remember which pattern particularly that I used. There's a lot of patterns out there for the virus stitch, so yeah, I'll just link my favorite one in the descriptions down below. But yeah, and then this beanie, I for real don't remember what pattern this is from. Both of these pieces were made a super long time ago, probably over 10 years ago, but I really like the texture of this yarn. It's like a velvet yarn. Something else that I don't know information about the yarn. All I can tell you is it's on a cone. It's some kind of stretchy little velvet yarn, and it's kind of like a misty lavender color. There was no label on the yarn, so yeah, and again, it was a long time ago, so even if I could remember the name of it or did have the information for the name of it, it probably doesn't even exist anymore, except in this poncho. So yeah, that's what I am wearing today. There are a lot of patterns for beanies like this. This one might be a bag a day pattern. I'm not sure. I really don't remember. But yeah, so what I've been stitching this week, if you remember last week I did the baby blanket in those real citrusy colors. I had some yarn left over from that project and decided to go ahead and do a 12-point star using the Bella Coco pattern. I'll go ahead and link that video tutorial in the description, and maybe even information to her blog where you can get a written pattern for it. I just used the same colors from the baby blanket, the cream color, the peachy color, the kind of lemony yellow color, and then that lime green, just to use up the rest of the yarn from that. If there was any left over, a couple of the colors did have a little bit left over, I just balled it up and put it back into the stash to use for another scrap project. Scrap projects are something that I really enjoy doing, so I never discard yarn if it's enough to do like a one granny square, or a few rows of a beanie. I'll hang on to the yarn just to be able to use it as a contrast or something like that. Been busy this week. I made 4 headbands using single crochet, back loop only, kind of like a rib stitch, and then did the join where you kind of make like a little twist. I made 3 in that gray color, and then I had some yarn left from a previous project, fisherman color, which is kind of like a cream color, and black, and I thought it would be kind of cool to make it to look like a little bow tie in the front. So yeah, I did that. I gave one of the gray ones to my mom because she already has a sweater that I made for her with the gray yarn. There was some left over, so I went ahead and made a headband to kind of coordinate with her sweater. I'm going to keep one of the gray ones for myself because I just like the neutral gray color. And then I don't know, the other gray one and the cute little bow tie one. I'm not sure exactly yet what I'm going to do with those ones, but I have them, so I can gift them or add them into my wardrobe, I don't know. And then the last project that I've been working on the last day or so is that pesky fillet blanket that I started way back at the beginning of the year. Actually, I think I kind of started it towards the end of last year. Yeah, it's a long project. It's really taking quite a bit of time. My husband keeps teasing me because I pick up a new project and he says, wait a minute, when are you going to finish that other project? Aren't you supposed to finish one before you start another? Which typically that is my rule. I don't like having lots of projects out there, but full-size blankets, you know, not just a baby blanket, full-size blankets just take forever and can get kind of boring. So I need like a little buffer in between to keep me motivated. I can't just keep stitching the same thing over and over. It's a bunch of double crochets, chain stitches. It's driving me crazy. So I have to have, you know, smaller projects that I can feel like I'm actually finishing something. But yeah, he's been teasing me that I haven't been finishing it. So I'm back on it. Hopefully I'll finish it before the week is over. Well, not this week, but work on it next week and finish it by the time I come back for the next podcast for episode 8. Yeah, it's definitely, like, it looks great when it's finished, but it just feels like it's taking forever. So yeah, that's what I've been working on this week. let's just jump right into what am I reading. This week I picked up The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Laurie Gilmore. It's another romance novel. It starts out very much like, you know, your typical romance Hallmark type vibes to it. Towards maybe like the end of the first third of the book, it gets a little spicy. Definitely some very explicit love scenes and things like that. But the concept of the book was a lot of fun. The lead female character in the book is a woman who is on the brink of turning 30. She's freaking out about that because she feels like she didn't live her 20s. She didn't do the typical crazy, you know, wild party kind of things in her 20s. And she feels like she's missing something in her life because of that. So she works in a bookstore, and someone starts leaving her clues in the books for her to kind of go on a little scavenger hunt for adventure. She has no idea who's doing it, but another character, another person in town finds out that she's being sent on this mystery scavenger hunt and decides to help her. Of course, it's a male character that you can assume is to be her love interest, and as things evolve, they do become romantically entangled, and their intentions kind of change as the book carries on. Their plan is to just kind of have like a summer fling, but as you can probably guess, things don't go quite as planned for them. So yeah. Ends with, you know, everybody gets their happily ever after. It's a lot of fun. The young lady finds out that her assumption as to who was sending her on the scavenger hunt was wrong. She's a little embarrassed by that, but she discovers that the person that did that for her did it with good intentions, and everything ends up being okay. The other book that I read this week is Anxious for Nothing, Finding Calm in a Chaotic World by Max Lucado. Max Lucado is a pastor, and his books tend to use a lot of scripture to kind of, I guess, like a self-help type of book, something for people to just try to find peace. And this book in particular is talking about like how with the way life is so fast-paced and just the chaotic, you know, way that we live now with social media and news media and everything coming at us so fast all the time, it can be a little overwhelming. So he, through telling stories from his own personal life and using scripture, talks about ways to kind of quell the anxiety that we may have in our life and just try to anchor ourselves in things that bring us peace. Particularly for Max Lucado, he speaks of, you know, different verses of the Bible. I'm by no means a biblical scholar. I was raised Catholic. Currently don't, you know, practice my religion, but I am a firm believer in a higher power. You know, I believe that there's definitely, you know, spirituality in the world. Mostly I like to think of living life in a way that we practice kindness and just try to be compassionate. And in doing those things, it will help to just kind of have a more peaceful life. And you can't expect peace and calm in your own life if you're out there causing chaos in other people's lives. So that's a lot of what this book was talking about, is just like being mindful and trusting in something outside of yourself, whatever that might mean for you. I definitely don't tell anyone to believe one way or the other, but the one thing that I do always try to stress to so many people is just the idea of being kind and helping where you can. Everybody has an ability to help others no matter what they're going through in their own life. The smallest gesture of kindness can make the world of difference to someone who's struggling. So, and kindness costs nothing. Like holding the door for another person, it's a few seconds of your day, and for another person that could mean a great deal to them because they just have been having a hard time, and that kindness gesture just helps them realize that there's humanity out there and people that care. So when I'm out in the world, I try and do that for others. But yeah, that's what I've been reading this week. What I've been watching, pretty much the same as last week. Been watching When Calls the Heart. I really enjoy that show. So many of the characters over the many seasons that I've been watching have grown and changed, particularly like the young characters, the youthful characters in the show. I've seen them go from elementary school kids to now they're like teenagers having their own little romances, and that's fun and exciting. I've been watching The Way Home. Both of those shows are on the Hallmark channel. They're very interesting. The Way Home right now, there's a lot of like time travel going on in the program, and you definitely have to watch the show with intention, because if you don't, you kind of miss the connections between the different characters across the various time periods that they're traveling back and forth in. So it's a good show. It's one that I really enjoy watching. I watch Golden Girls in the evening with my son just as a way to kind of unwind, and we like to chat about some of the antics that take place in the Golden Girls. We really enjoy the acting in there, and just the comedy is always fun for us to discuss. We watch Will Trent together. That one's always a lot of fun to watch. Trying to work through with the characters in the show to try and solve the mystery as quickly or quicker than they can in the show. Shifting gears this week was a lot of fun. The interaction between the characters that were siblings kind of reminded me a little bit of my own relationship with my own siblings. So yeah, I enjoyed that this week. Extreme Makeover Home Edition this week was refreshing, I guess is the word that I would use. It's nice to see them do an episode where they're not working with just one family. They are working this week and next week with a charity that is building like a small community for cancer patients at a hospital. I think of it as being a very similar concept to the Ronald McDonald House. This hospital has several homes that they're building for patients at the cancer center to be able to stay at while they're getting long-term treatment, which I think is just so important when you're going through like medical crisis, to have a place where you don't have to think a lot about the challenges of what you're experiencing. You don't have to think about, you know, commuting for your treatments and things like that. So that was nice, and just to kind of see how Extreme Makeover is kind of bringing awareness to this organization and bringing awareness to the need of things like this, I think is really great. Obviously, people know that there are people struggling with medical diagnoses that you never want to get, you know, a message from a doctor saying that there's something happening that is going to take a lot of long-term care to pull you through. But until you live that experience, you don't really understand the challenges that come with being in it. And we can watch it on TV and see it, but yeah, it's difficult, and it's refreshing to see, you know, communities coming together and helping people. Again, going back to what I was saying about, you know, you may not be able to do a lot, but anytime you can, you know, do a little something can really make a big difference in someone's life. So yeah, there's that. Of course, gotta watch my daily installment of General Hospital. So yeah, that's fun. And then I've been watching Scamamanda and The Perfect Wife, which are interesting. We all know like the coverage of The Perfect Wife, the Sherry Papini story, different things that we saw in the news, but this is definitely more of like a in-depth exploration of how that whole story unfolded. I'm interested to see like what exactly kind of happened there. Like it's kind of an outrageous thing for someone to do, so I want to see if they've got answers to like what drove her to do that. Yeah. And then lastly, the other thing that I've watched this week is Mr. Holland's Opus. Yeah, the movie is from 1996, starring Richard Dreyfuss, and it's a story about a man who becomes a music teacher in the 60s, and then kind of chronicles his career as a music teacher, such that he had not really intended to be a music teacher, but then spends 30 plus years as a music teacher. Being that I was a teacher for several years myself, I always felt that this movie kind of resonated with me. It premiered when I was still in high school, but even back then I kind of knew that I wanted to be a teacher, and seeing, you know, a teacher that had such impact as this character, I kind of aspired to be that teacher. Didn't spend nearly as many years as Mr. Holland teaching, but hopefully for some of my students I had impact in their lives in the way that he did. He was a high school teacher. I was on the extreme end, the other direction. I was a kindergarten teacher. But yeah, it's always fun to think about the time that I spent in the classroom with my students, and then watching a movie like this kind of makes me miss it a little bit. But, you know, life goes on and things change, and it's fun to reminisce and see a movie that kind of depicts what I had always aspired to when I thought about what it meant to be a teacher. So yeah, and we'll wrap things up with some fancy footwork. All right, thanks for watching. Okay, today's fancy footwork skill that I'm going to show is tying shoelaces. This is a skill that I learned way back when I was in kindergarten. It's something that I always, as an adult now, have thought of, like, it seems like a strange skill for me to learn, because how do you tie shoes once your foot is in the shoe? But when I was 5 in kindergarten, it was something that everybody was learning how to do, like writing their name or using scissors. It was just another skill. And I was learning all of those skills. I was learning how to, hold a pencil, write my name, cut with scissors. We played with Play-Doh, all those things that, like, you do in kindergarten. And it came time for tying shoes. And of course, the question was, would I be able to do it? I looked at it as it's a skill that everyone's learning, so I want to learn it too. And even though I can't tie my own shoes, because obviously if my foot is in the shoe, I don't have my toes out so that I can work with them, but it was something that I thought would be important to help my friends, or as I got older and I realized, like, helping out my younger siblings, or then even if I were to have children of my own. And then it was an important job skill because I became a kindergarten teacher, and if you know nothing else about kindergarten, you know that there are lots and lots of shoes that need tied in a classroom every day. So, learning how to tie shoes definitely was an important skill for me to learn. My parents, my grandparents kind of showed me how to do it, but didn't really have any idea if my toes would be able to translate the dexterity necessary to do it. So when I was in kindergarten, I spent many hours practicing tying shoelaces, getting frustrated and things like that. My dad had work boots that had really long laces that were perfect for practicing tying shoes. And I'm sure there were many days that he got up and got dressed and had to spend a little bit of extra time unknotting his shoelaces, because if you know anything about learning how to tie shoes, more often than not, the laces get knotted up. And I would practice until the laces got so knotted that there was nothing I could do about it, and I would walk away. And every day I would come back and the laces would be unknotted because, of course, Dad had to put them on. And I had a new day to practice, and I finally mastered tying shoes. So and as time went on, I even figured out how to do a double knot, which, again, I'm teaching kindergarten, knotting shoelaces so that they stay tied, so that you don't have to tie them 20 times for the same child over and over again. Yep. Like I said, many hours of knotting up Dad's bootlaces to master learning how to tie shoes. But I figured it out, and had such a feeling of pride back in the day when I learned how to do that. Probably one of the few times in my life when I did something because everybody else was doing it. I'm typically not a follower in that way, but learning a skill like tying shoelaces was something that I really didn't want to get left behind on. So I practiced until I was able to get it done. And now it's something that I can do almost with my eyes closed. especially after working for over 10 years as a kindergarten teacher. It was definitely something that was fun at the beginning of the school year when the kids would come to me so that I would tie their shoelaces, because they were just so enthralled with how I could tie shoelaces. And it got to a point that I had to learn who really needed help to tie their shoelaces and who was just very curious. I gave each kid, a concession, and for the first week or so would tie shoelaces whenever they needed it. And then after that I said, you got to learn how to tie shoelaces for yourself, just like I learned. Until you master it, maybe find a friend that can help you out until that time. But yeah, I didn't want to spend all of my time during the day tying up shoelaces. But yeah, it was something that I felt was important to learn how to do, and I'm really glad that I did. All right, take care. Okay, I wanted to say thanks again for tuning in. If this is your first time here, hopefully you enjoyed some of what you saw today. If you are an avid reader like I am, go ahead and drop a comment about what you like to read, what your favorite genre is, if you have a particular book that you turn to time and again, your favorite book that you just keep that tattered copy around because you love to read it over and over. Let me know what you're currently reading. Yeah. I'd love to know what you guys have been watching. If you're a big TV watcher or more into like streaming, or maybe you go once a week to the movie theaters to watch, the latest movies that are out there, let me know that too. Yeah, let me know what, if you're a crocheter or a knitter, what are you working on this week? Love to kind of trade ideas and find out what your favorite color schemes are, what your preference is to what you stitch. Like I said, stitching blankets for me, I just feel like it takes forever. So blankets are something that I kind of have a love-hate relationship with. I definitely like the smaller projects where it's like a hat or a scarf or a poncho, just things like that, where you can kind of whip out a few of them in a week or whatever. So yeah, that's where I'm at. But yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and give a thumbs up, click that like button. If you're a returning viewer and haven't yet subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Ring the notification bell so that you'll be kept up to date as to when I post a new video, and I'll be glad to hear from you again next week. All right, take care. Bye now.